You are tuned into my weekly talk radio TV show called Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced and get happy with Dr. Marissa. And this show is about hope and happiness. So there's no gossip, no scandal. Instead, I want you to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time. So I have shows and topics.
Sunday, Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days. Thursday, Friday, happy days.
Monday, Tuesday,
Happy days.
Wednesday, Thursday,
Happy days.
Friday, whatever.
Happy days.
What a day.
I love you.
I love you too.
Best known as the mom from Happy Days, and she is a delightful 89-year young Marion Ross to my studio. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Dr. Marissa, this is such a treat for me.
Oh.
My goodness, you're a wonderment.
Which is exactly the kind of guest that I like. Those who have gone through life, good and bad, and then taken those experiences to alchemize them into the person they are now and doing good on the planet. I'd like you to welcome Corey Feldman.
If you're grateful for it and you say right away, thank you, God. Oh, my God, it's so beautiful. I'm so blessed. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Then guess what? More good things will come to you.
Does this sound familiar at all? She's back again to mark my Cancer Awareness and Prevention Month show. Please welcome Fran Drescher. Hi, Fran.
On and supporting cancer schmance. I really appreciate it.
So what would you say are some of the biggest myths, Fran, that people have about cancer?
Well, I would say that they think that there's a cure for it.
Okay.
Instead of a cause for it.
This is the first call-in show when I get to be Dr. Marissa, the kinder, gentler Dr. Laura. And people call in to get their life tires balanced and their critical thinking or their BS, their belief systems, smog checked. And today I am delighted to have Malie calling in from Birmingham, Alabama.
We could go 90 days and end up having terrible sex. And then you say, well, the relationship's not all about sex. Well, if I'm not getting great sex from you, then I'm going to get it from somebody else. Right?
That moose just got put on the table. And I see Josh and Jim.
I have to agree
You're
with Clyde.
both nodding. Ramon's sort of half nodding because his wife's listening. But
I understood what was going to happen if Muhammad Ali's youngest daughter, made public that I was going to become a boxer. So I wanted to make sure this was the path that I wanted to go down.
You are absolutely fabulous, beautiful inside and out. And I'm giving you Dr. Marissa's Beneficial Presence on the Planet Award today.
Thank you.
Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip that started from this tropic point.
When I go, I'm gone.
Are you lonely?
No.
Yeah, I knew that was going to be
But
the answer.
I surround myself with people. I mean, I'm always the one cooking for things. Or I'm always the one that decorates first and come to my house. All the orphans that have no place.
I'm going to have no place to go, so I can come over.
Come on over.
And life is so amazing if we can see it.
Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
Good morning.
My advice on not using a gift balance with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News, NBC Sports, and CNBC News station KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Amazon Music, TV Live, Rumble, Podchaser, Streaker, Spreaker, and more. Why so many places? Because I want to maximize my splatter zone for more hope and happiness. So there's no gossip here, no scandal, and no K-words, no Kanye talk, now or formerly. Instead, I want you to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time. So I have topics and guests to that, and we've had some great self-development people. I replayed a clip from Bob Proctor, the Dean of Self-Development, when I had Bill Banta on yesterday, as well as Nicole. Anyways, we'll just say Nicole because I'm going to get her name wrong, but she was great on Monday. So you can get all of those shows and more, along with my playlist, Red Carpet, with Halle Berry, John Travolta, and Quincy Jones. All if you free subscribe or subscription subscribe on my YouTube TV channel. And, you know, not only do I bring you guests, I have regular co-hosts now who come on and just are great sources of education, of entertainment, and Wednesday is no exception. You are here with my Wednesday co-host. Her name is Dr. Tiffanie Tate, and this is the very special Wednesday series called Doctors in the House with Dr. Marissa and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate. Hey.
Yeah, she's a U.S. Navy veteran, a published author, and retired OBGYN from Compton, California. She's a playwright, singer, poet, songwriter, and more. She's the published author of several books, including an important children's book called Bad Touching. Please welcome back to the studio, Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
Always good to be here. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Dr. Tiffanie. Let's start with breakfast, which is 8 things we're grateful for on the top of the bun and 8 things we appreciate about ourselves on the bottom of the bun. We're going to take a bite of it right now. Dr. Tiffanie, you started off. What are you grateful for?
I am grateful that last night my mom T had, she heard a popping noise at her fish tank. And she's kind of smelled some smoke. So she unplugged it and was like, I am not going to sleep here. And I'm going to come over and spend the night at your house because we live around the corner from each other. And hopefully avoided a possible potential electrical fire or anything like that. So I am thankful that we live close and that she was able to come over and spend the night and sleep safe and sound at my home.
Wow. Yes. I am grateful that we have electricity. There's a lot of people on the planet. I would say the majority, if we look at the whole world, who don't enjoy the luxuries that we do. I'm not downplaying, and I'm really happy that Mom T's okay. I got to meet her last week on the show. So I'm glad she's okay. And at the same time, I'm grateful that we are one of the 8% of the population in the world who enjoy a roof over their head, food in their fridge and money in their pocket. So that's always something that I'm grateful for. Your turn.
And I am grateful that I am able to have a nice warm house with a heater and a heated blanket because it was cold last week and I am always cold sometimes. So I love to snuggle up with my heated blanket, and I have a weighted blanket, and it's just like, oh, heaven. And so I love that.
That's awesome. And I'm grateful that it's now warm today. It just kills me when there are people that say there's, global warming is made up. You cannot tell me that the funky back and forth weather these days is not something different going on. So I'm grateful. It feels like summer. I have my summer jacket on already. And although it is nice because I have a wardrobe for the winter, right? That I enjoy wearing the faux furs and all of that. But I'm grateful for the sun because I am solar powered. One more gratitude.
And I am grateful for the solar eclipse. I did not get to see it myself because it was not over California, but I do love to stargaze, and I'm grateful for my friends who did get to see it. I have friends in Ohio and in my prayer group, and they were so excited, and they were remarking about how beautiful it was. And I'm grateful that they got to have that opportunity.
Yes, I'm grateful for NASA, who brought us brilliant pictures and brilliant that wow. I don't know if I would have the balls, the bravery, to be up in an airplane, when all that was going on and that close, but the pictures were phenomenal. And I'm grateful that we live in a country. Well, no, maybe I can't say that, but I read the chat, the chat that was going on because they were streaming live, and there's some funky BS going on, some belief systems, and people were using the opportunity to just spout their religious dogma, and it was a little scary, but it was from all over the world, so can't judge, believe on your own. I just don't like it when people there are many rooms in God's mansion, but I'm in the penthouse and you're in the basement, right?
Oh, okay.
So that whole fervor around, if you don't believe like I do, you're damned. But so I put my little, I saw a little of that and I went, I'm out of here. But before I go out, I'm going to say, I'm so grateful for NASA showing us this and how amazing it is that human beings do not control the gravitational pull of the planet, because then we'd be in real trouble.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, all right, that's the top of the bun. And now we're going to go to the bottom of the bun, which is, what do you appreciate about yourself? What do you like about yourself? The reason why I do this every morning is because I want to model for you. Dr. Tiffanie and I will be giving you an example of things to think about before you go to bed. Because if you're not thinking about good things before you go to bed about yourself, you're most likely thinking about, what did I not finish, not do? Why am I not good enough? Why aren't things happening? Or who said what about me? And instead of that, I'd like you to appreciate who you are. And we are all one of a kind, wonderful, all 8 billion of us, not a throwback in the bunch. And we're not perfect, but I say we're 88% fabulous, 12% step in it. So if you know that, you're less likely to walk around with antenna looking for someone to like you, literally, on social media. So what do you like about yourself, Dr. Tiffanie?
I appreciate my independence because I was born an only child. My parents only had one, but I was raised by my mom with a brother and a sister, essentially, because she had 2 children of her own. but I'm still rather independent. So I can function within a group rather well, but I can also function alone very well. So I really appreciate my independence.
I didn't know that about you, that you were an only child. That's so cool. After how long now? I love learning new things. So, yeah. I appreciate that I am always trying to, not always, 88% of the time, I am trying to do the best that I can. And at night before I go to bed, have I done the best that I can with the time that I have and the resources I have? And almost all the time I can say yes, and then it's okay. So I appreciate that.
And I think I appreciate the fact that I am a motivator and I try to uplift my fellow man or female. In general, I try to encourage others. And if I see someone down, I want to find out why. And even if they don't want to share why, I can try to encourage them or lend a helping hand or give a good word.
I appreciate my ability to laugh at myself. Sometimes it's out loud. Someone the other day said, I always know you're in the building because I can hear your laugh. So I took that as a compliment. Hopefully it was meant that way. But I appreciate that about myself.
And I appreciate the fact that I do not take myself too seriously. Like you said, you like to laugh, and I consider myself a jokester. I do like to send, like I said, the funny memes, but I do not take myself too seriously. And I think that overflows to other people, and I do bring joy to myself and others. So I think that's a helpful thing.
That's great. I appreciate my ability to be a fashionista. I love finding, interesting, unique clothing, and that's one way I express my creativity. Last one.
And I appreciate my inner beauty. Sometimes we are always focused on what we look like on the outside, and we really need to appreciate what we look like on the inside. Are we at peace within ourselves? And it took me some time to really appreciate my inner me. And I my inner me.
Very nice. All right. And that is it for Breakfast with Dr. Marissa and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
Here on Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa and the very special Wednesday series called Doctors in the House. Air on KCAA, NBC News Radio, home to the Asian Oprah, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, and of course my YouTube TV channel. Thanks for joining us for breakfast. And if you do 28 consecutive days of this good life habit and hashtag discipline, I promise you will sandwich your day in the most positive way. And now, drum roll, please. It is time for the topic of the day. And the promo goes like this. You can't handle the truth. So do you always have to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth? And do you have to be brutally honest? And are little white lies okay if it saves someone from getting their feelings hurt? The topic today, chosen by Dr. Tiffanie, is hurts, charades, facades, and accountability. So, Dr. Tiffanie, take it away.
Yes, truth hurts, or does it? And I thought that this was an interesting topic. The truth hurts, charades, facades, and accountability. A lot of times, people tiptoe around the truth, avoid the truth, sometimes at work, sometimes in friendships, sometimes in relationships. And when is it okay and when is it not okay? And why did I pick this topic? Well, sometimes topics come and just hit me upside the head. And I'm like, okay, all right, Lord, I see. This is why we need to talk about this topic. So I had a friend and they had an incident. And I was like, that just doesn't that just doesn't pass the smell test. So I think I should bring this to the group and to the cashew gallery, and let's all weigh in on this and let's have a family discussion. Here's the situation, people. Okay. So friend A had a friend B. Now, this person is in a relationship and has a child. And this person is in a relationship and has a child. And their
Hold
ex,
on, hold on. Both of them? Both of them?
Okay,
Hold
no,
on.
no, no.
Okay.
So let's say, okay, I'm gonna use you and me, okay? So you're my friend, and I'm in a relationship, and I have a child, and I'm like, Dr. Marissa, can you do me a favor? I want you to keep this a secret, though, okay? Don't tell my boyfriend, and don't tell my child. I need you to go and take care of my ex for me. Yeah, that part. You see how you looking? I want you to drive my ex around, take my ex to church. That part. She's sick. Um, and
Wait, who's sick? The
my
ex is sick?
yeah,
My
yeah,
ex is sick. Okay, okay.
my ex is sick. Now, but these are men. These are two men. Okay. And so, but I'm thinking most women have friends. And so a woman should be able to call on another woman and ask her to do these things. Because women have
I just realized something. The friend with a relationship and a child is a man, not a woman.
Yes.
Okay. I thought it was a woman, so it was like not making sense for a second.
No,
I mean,
no.
it could have, but
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's a man.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
is friend A woman or a man? A woman.
These are two men.
They're two men.
Yeah.
Oh, that's even more. Okay.
Yeah. So these are two men, and he has a woman this woman has a child, and he's saying, "Hey, dude, can you drive my woman around and take her to church? She's sick. And
What kind of sick? What kind of sick?
Well, they say she has cancer.
Okay.
But I'm thinking if she has cancer, she probably shouldn't be at church because she can get sicker.
Okay. Well, it depends on where you are in treatment. But anyways, go ahead.
She can get COVID, she can get whatever. And so I'm thinking that's not, and then she wants to go to 2 church services. And I'm thinking, that's not good. As a physician, I'm like, I'm giving medical advice. I'm like, well, she should wear a mask. I'm like, well, I would recommend she only go to 1 church service and not 2 church services. So I'm like, well, I strongly recommend you only take her to 1. So I'm trying to be a friend to this friend. I'm like, well, listen, only take her to 1, talk her out of going to bowls. I'm trying to give medical advice to this person. If you really want to be a friend, this is what you should do. And you should talk to this friend. I'm like, number 1, you shouldn't be shuffling around his ex because that's not cool. And you shouldn't be participating in his deception. And number 1, she should have a female tribe and she should have her family doing all of this. And I'm like, all of this is not cool because he's in a relationship and now you're being party to him and his extra.
You're an accomplice.
Yeah. And so I'm like, I don't want to be in it and you shouldn't want to be in it. And then he's like, well, I'll do it and I'll do it again and again and again. So now I'm giving him the side eye. Like, if that's how you roll, that's how you roll. And so you go ahead and weigh in.
So, first of all, this guy is asking you for advice, or he's just telling you the situation?
A little bit of both.
Okay. So my first thing that I would do is, are you telling me this? Do you want to know how I really feel? Or do you want me to agree with you? That's what I usually tell my kids, because the topic is whether to tell the truth or not to tell the truth, right? So I will say, do you want me to tell you how I really feel, or do you want me to tell you something that you want to hear, right? So that's what I would do, depending on how close I am with that friend. Actually, I'll back up. The first thing I would do now that I'm more adulted, is and practice a discipline of nom, which is none of my business, right? It's like, I'm not going to give you my recommendations or advice until you're paid, unless you're paying me. That's usually my rule, because what could happen is you give him advice, he goes back to the guy and says, Tiffanie said da da da, and she doesn't think I should help you. No. And then he may come back to you, and it's this whole ball of melted wax of stuff that you don't have time for. So I'm protecting your time. But that would be my first caveat. But if this is someone you care about and you want to tell him, what he's getting into, then yeah, I would say what you said. You want to be an accomplice. This is not, it's not going to look good anywhere around, right? Whether it's for the girl who's sick or the girl who's in the relationship. So that would be, that would be my warning to him. Now, do you know the other guy?
I do not.
Oh, okay. Well, then you don't need to do anything on that one. But I think what you said was good. Is I don't think you should do it because it's not a very honest thing to do behind somebody's relationship, and that the best thing that I would suggest that you do is go back and say, I'll do this because she has cancer and she needs some help, but on the condition that you come clean with your relationship and tell your relationship, this is what you're doing because she doesn't have anybody else. That's the only, it's either because she doesn't have anybody else or this guy has feelings still for the ex. It's one of the two, right? So that would be my, bottom line. The only way I would do it is if we make sure that it's reason number one, not reason number two.
And that's the thing. These facades, these charades and accountability, because if you hold the mirror up to your face, what's really going on? Chances are he has the woman's name saved in his phone under an alias, and he's sneaking around and he's pretending, and he has this facade and these charades. And so, the charade is when you pretend that something is that isn't. And a lot of times these guys are sneaking around, and sometimes it's women too. So I don't want to just say guys, because the women can do the same thing. And so you have these little white lies, but they aren't so little. And you do them under the premise of, oh, I'm doing it for a good cause. And I try to say that as a physician, I'm like, okay, well, what type of cancer is it? All cancer is not unto death. People call fibroids tumors. Fibroids are benign. All cancers aren't equal. And so I'd like to know.
Your medical doctor hat is definitely coming through here.
Yeah. And so I'm like, and I know that some women can be manipulative. I know women who fake pregnancies. And so just to get men to stay in their lives, or, I've heard of that. And so I'm thinking, what is real and what isn't real? And I don't know this woman. I've never met this woman. And could she really have cancer? Absolutely. And I prayed for her and I wish her the very best. But I know that there should be a tribe. Most women have friends. And so for there to be a woman to have nobody and have a family and have nobody in her family coming to assist her, I think that says something about her character.
Okay. Now I'm not gonna, I'm not slapping your hand at all. Okay. But I'm going to provide the other extreme. And I know that this is a good example of, you have had experience, and because of all those different experiences, you're kind of looking at it through that lens. Call me Pollyanna, but I'm going to go and use my BOD. So my tool is BOD is benefit of the doubt, right? I try not to go to MSU University, which is making shiitake up. And based on, and this is a great example, Dr. Tiffanie, because most people will do this based on their experience with past women, past whatever, all of these things that you stated as most sometimes aren't. So for me, giving the woman and the guy the benefit of the doubt, right? That these are the highest, purest intentions, and then go investigate. The best case scenario here is she really doesn't have it. Some women don't have all of that. That's, that is a reality. I wouldn't even say most women. I would say 50-50, because some women don't know how to build that tribe, or think they are, they can live alone on a desert island, and or they've been so hurt that they have isolated from other people. So that assumption may not be true, right? And the guy, he really may be her only lifeline. Unlikely, but I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt, best case scenario. So my advice to the guy would be actually to say, this could be at best intentions, at worst, the stereotype, guy can't get over the girl, sneaking behind, all of that charade, facade, and all that. But that's worst case scenario. So your job is to be a detective right now and find out what the truth is before you accept this assignment, right? This is you've been offered an assignment. Should you choose to accept it? Do the research, go find out, talk to him, meet her, and if she really is a person that, God or source or UPS, my UPS man's put in front and said, this is your job for a time is to help her, then go for it. But more needs to be revealed before we, make a pronouncement. So that's my balance.
I agree. Accepting blind following of friendship without due diligence is not necessarily the best thing to do, especially in the name of, well, the person asked me to. It's kind of like when your parents say, well, if they tell you to jump off a bridge, are you going to jump off a bridge? How they would tell you to do that when you were growing up. And so you don't just say, okay, well, my friend asked me to. And I think it's important to make a decision based on your own principles. And a lot of times we don't. And I think that when we ask people questions, a lot of times they get very defensive when they're putting on a facade. And I looked it up. It says, here's the lowdown of the 9 warning signs. Because I always like to do my research. So here's the lowdown on the 9 warning signs that usually signify someone is pulling the strings behind that friendly facade. Number 1, they're always playing the victim. So if you go to them and you ask them the question and they flip the script and they play the victim role. And number 2, they're overly flattering. So when you try to ask them the question, then all of a sudden they become very flattering of you. Number 3, they frequently use the guilt trip. Number 4, they have a knack for gaslighting you. That's not what I said. Number 5, they are seldom wrong. Number 6, they are rarely considering your feelings. Number 7, they are quick to anger when they are challenged. Oh no, that was number 6. They rarely consider your feelings. Number 7, they're quick to anger when challenged. Number 8, they're always in control. And number 9, their actions don't match their words. Think about it.
There's your yellow caution warning list from Dr. Tiffanie. If you just tuned in and you're wondering what's going on in studio today, this is Take My Advice on Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show on our very special Wednesday series called Doctors in the House with Dr. Marissa and
Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
You're on KCAA, NBC News Radio, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, and of course my YouTube TV channel where you free subscribe. You will get an alert every weekday morning to tune in to the show about hope and happiness. And we love to have you. We see some eyeballs coming in the studio. We love having you give us the finger, not that one, but this one, or hearts, or whatever reaction you would like. You can identify yourself on the chat, but only if you're not driving. If you're listening to the AM 1050, FM 106.5, please do wait till you park somewhere, and then you can stream and chat with us. And the topic for today is, can you handle the truth? And many different angles. We got a great example that Dr. Tiffanie just brought us about her two friends that are in a situation. And I'd like to throw out the whole bigger question right now on, should you always tell the truth? Should you always tell the truth? And I'll say there are a lot of people who will say absolutely rigorous honesty, always have to tell the truth no matter what. I have to tell people what's on my mind. They have the right to my opinion, and they always have to be abreast and know consciously what I'm thinking, what my opinions are, how I feel about something, how I see what's going on, and that is bullshit talking. So that's my first, line in the sand. I get to do executive coaching because of I'm not an MD. Dr. Tiffanie is an MD. I'm a PhD. Just means piled higher and deeper. And it is in organizational psychology, which is business plus psychology. And I get to go in businesses and work with senior leadership, C-suite, all the way down to manager. And often I get to coach, I wouldn't say problems, but I'm called to work with a leader who does have that BS in his head. I have to be brutally honest. I have to tell people exactly, what I think of them. And that's the number one detractor from leadership effectiveness, because when to hold and when to fold is a skill. So that's going to be my first major point on this topic is you really don't need to weigh in on everything. You really don't need to say exactly what you think. And because one of the reasons why is your version of the truth may not be the global truth. In fact, there are very few global truths that everybody sees the same way. Mm-hmm. Politics and religion are a great example of that. So two people witnessing the same accident are a good example of that. Completely different accounts, right? That old lady, young lady picture that you took in Introduction to Psychology, maybe in college, right? Mm-hmm. Depending on how you look at it, you see an old woman or a young woman. Those are good examples of, one, you don't even know if your truth is really the global truth. And two, nobody needs to know everything that you think. So I love Dr. David Simon's advice that I take in my life. He died of a brain aneurysm, a brain tumor. He was the co-founder of the Chopra Center, Deepak Chopra's partner. And I went to his living memorial. He was still alive. I think he passed a couple weeks after that. And he said, before you open your mouth, ask yourself 3 questions. Is it true? Is it kind? And is it necessary? And those 3 questions I try to ask myself. And I can only ask myself those questions if I don't automatically do a knee-jerk reaction. If I do a knee-jerk reaction, 1, I'm going to be a jerk. And 2, I don't have time to ask myself those questions. So usually I try to take a breath, think, and then ask the questions and then say either, do you really want to know what I think? That thing I told you earlier. Or I don't think my opinion would be helpful here.
But Dr. Marissa, I think we really need to focus on accountability and accountability of our actions, accountability of our words, and accountability of the consequences of our actions and our words. And
no argument. Go ahead. No argument.
Yeah.
I agree.
And if we focus on the accountability of all of those things, then we will be more cognizant of what our actions mean, of what our words mean, and what the repercussions of all of those things mean. Because if we say, okay, I can do anything, I can say anything, then it really matters. Because if you think about what people do on social media, they think they can get away with it and it doesn't matter. But the reality is that it does matter. And if you wouldn't do it in real life, you shouldn't do it on social media. And in real life, we should be cognizant and aware of what we do. Because if you wouldn't want it done to you, you shouldn't do it to someone else. And I think we need to hold the mirror up to ourselves and look at the reflection and think, okay, is this really okay? Would I want somebody to do this to me? Would this be okay if this was done to me? And so with that example that I gave, if that was done to me in my relationship, would I be okay if that was done to me? And if your answer is no, chances are you shouldn't be doing it. If your answer is yes, then yes, you should. But if your answer is no, you should probably think twice before you do it.
That's good advice. I was talking about something a little bit different. So your example is like a different angle of what I was talking about, but I don't disagree with you at all.
But even with what you were saying, I said, even with what you were saying, you said, should you always tell the truth? If I told you, oh, I think that outfit is hideous, would you want somebody to tell you your outfit was hideous?
No.
Okay. So I think we hold that mirror up. How would I want that worded to me? I think we always need to hold that mirror up before we speak. So the example still applies, even with what you were saying. I think before we all speak, we should all reflect on how we speak. If we don't want it said to ourselves that way, we shouldn't say it to someone else that way.
Right. I'm not arguing with you on that at all. Mm-hmm. But I'm not, the truth in your situation that you talked about with your friend, mm-hmm. The truth is we don't know what the truth is, right? That was my point, is you need further investigation before you spout off on what you think is happening.
Well, I have a little bit more information.
Oh, you didn't give me that.
Yeah.
Well, you can't ask me the question without giving me all the tea. Come on. But
Yeah.
anyway.
I know this person has friends.
Okay.
So yeah, I know this person has a tribe.
All right. Well, you didn't tell me that part. So no
Yeah.
wonder you said what you said. But
Yeah.
let me go and absolutely highlight what you said, which is so important about as people use on social media, on talk radio, talk TV, whatever, they're comedians, right?
Mm-hmm.
They use the amendment, free speech amendment of our country to defend what they're spouting off on. I have the right to free speech. And my response always is not arguing. You have the absolute right to say whatever you want. However, you have to take responsibility and accountability for what is out of your mouth. So if what you say is disrespectful, and this is where that other thing, Dr. Tiffanie, some people don't have that sensitivity gene, because you say, if you wouldn't want it done to you, and I've used that, and they say, wouldn't bother me. So why can't I do it? For me, I have to get them to understand, and I do this all the time. The first meeting, I say, do you want to be more effective with a larger group of people? Now, what leader doesn't say yes to that, right? Mm-hmm. So you may not be offended as a woman when someone says ma'am or lady to you. You may not be offended, but there are others who are, because it brings up that frail, little girl image that was true in the past when we met the husbands at the front door with a martini when they came home from work, right? Mm-hmm. So you may not be offended by that, but there are some women, not all, that are offended by that. So if you want to be more effective with a larger group of women when you are talking, then you might want to, shift a little on that. So that's the one time where, the golden rule, right? Do unto others before they do unto you. No, sorry, wrong one. Do unto others as you would want them to do unto you, or he who has the most gold rules does break down if other people aren't like you. They don't think like you.
Mm. Well, I completely get it. I had breast cancer surgery, and I have melanoma, so I have skin cancer. I have to see the dermatologist every year. And so, I have my own battles with medical issues. And that's why I say all cancer isn't unto death, because I have my own battles. And so I completely get it. But I don't necessarily see that I have to make a major issue out of it at this point. But and I have the condition that killed Bob Marley, acrolytico maligna.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know, right? And so and that's why I say everybody can make a big deal out of something, or they can say, okay, this is what I have. I'm going to live with it. I'm going to move forward with it. But you can evaluate things. And so I wrote a poem because that's what I do. And sometimes we think that we understand. We often have our own master plan. God comes along and flips things around. Life often gets flipped upside down. We try to grip tighter and stay in control. The more things unravel and you sink into a foxhole. Try to understand it is time to let go. trust in God, and go with the flow. And so I think it is very important for us to just kind of try to be kinder to one another and hold up the mirror before we use those little white lies and think, would we want it done to us? Because I think it's important, even if you think, well, I don't care if it's done to me, consider the other person's feelings. I think it's very important to not take other people's values and their considerations into perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with you. So that's the topic. I'm so glad that we got to spend a little time on the truth. I will say that there's so much stuff that is said because people think they have to tell the truth that is unnecessary. That's going to be my, final thought on the topic, only because I have, as a law of attraction person, a student, I have found that there's, for me, too much attention focused on sharing our opinion where it's not needed. And the more we share that negative, and it's usually negative, and more we share that negative opinion, the bigger it grows. The social media you were talking about. Mm-hmm. I rarely see people commenting like fully positive, and then we take the positive to another level of positive. Another usually is somebody makes a snarky remark, somebody reacts to that snarky remark, and then the snarky remark gets reacted, and then you get America. Right now, we are split just about 50-50 on the coming election, and it's a negative we versus they, you're stupid, no, you're stupid, da 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 da. And we've lost that ability to hold open the agree to disagree without judging and focusing on what is negative. So the truth in my mind is there are some things that you cannot ever figure out what that truth is. And I go back to the example I gave you last week is I had to look at that conflict and say, is there a way that I would ever understand what he was doing and him understand what I was doing or saying? Mm-hmm. And the bottom line is no. And so to go back in to try to, reinforce it, there's very little good that could come out of it. So I made the decision not to. And then I talked to a girlfriend of mine and I said, I just want to make sure that I'm not, conflict avoidant. The reason why I'm not doing this is that I don't want to be in conflict. And the answer is no.
You know what happens is when...
Can I just finish that story?
Yeah, go ahead.
The second part of it is important. So I had another encounter with another person, and they got to a conflict. We're both very strong. And my first temptation was, this is just not working. I think we tried and it's not working, and, good luck. And I just don't think we can work together. And then I stopped and I said, okay, what potential is in this relationship that I don't want to just throw the baby out with the bathwater and prove that I'm not conflict avoidant? So I did tell the truth about how the relationship and the way we were working together was going, and asked for if it was possible for them to do something different, the same way that I did with the first encounter. And their response was completely different. They got it. They heard what I said, and it's been great. So I say that, one, not to defend myself, but I think that the crux is it does matter telling the truth if the relationship matters.
And I was going to say, but that's perfect, because that leads into accountability. And so when there's lack of accountability, it leads to apathy, disengagement, broken promises, frustration, and resentment, and lack of care. And that just dissolves any relationship, whether it's friendship, intimate relationship, and even at the job. And so I'm happy you finished the second part of the story, because that was a problem with the first relationship, because it crumbled, that relationship, because there was a lack of accountability in that. And that second relationship flourished because there was accountability, and it was like a water on the flower. It was allowed to blossom. And accountability is key, because you have the communication and the accountability, and they go hand in hand. And without it, you're just not going to have it. You're going to have these dry conversations. You're going to have this hurt, and you're just not going to have it. You're not going to have the connection, and it's beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you. It looks like we have 4 minutes left. I'm going to ask Dr. Tiffanie for her final word on the topic.
So my final word is, dear people, try to be introspective and grow and flourish, and hold that mirror up and be accountable, and show your character and do the best you can.
I'm putting music to our final word now.
Oh, I like it.
Hey. So my final word is, before you tell the truth, remember there is no absolute truth. That your perspective is one truth, and ask them 3 questions. Is it kind? Is it true? And is it necessary? And if it's not a yes to all 3, shut the front door. This is Dr. Marissa. I want to just remind you that the Asian Oprah giveaway today is a pair of tickets to Al Stewart. Al Stewart is the guy who sang Time Passages and The Year of the Cat. So if you want those tickets, please go to drmarissa.life and just let me know on the form that you would like those tickets, and I'll get you onto the Will Call guest list. And that's because I'm very grateful for the Where Music Meets the Soul Productions, all of their concerts that we get free tickets for as a sponsor of the show. If you have something free that you would like to give out on this show, please do contact myself or Dr. Tiffanie. And you can find us all over social. I'm Doc Balance on Instagram, and you are
Dr. Tiffanie Tate.
And on your social, on Instagram, it's Dr. Tiffanie, DR, right? Tiffany with an I-E.
Tate.
And then she'll pop
N-I-E.
up. Yay. So that's it for this scintillating, truthful episode of Doctors in the House with Dr. Marissa and
Dr. Tiffanie, Tiffanie.
And please get her poetry book. It's Flowetry, and she you can get it anywhere, especially on Amazon. And she also has, if you use my assistant Google, just put in Dr. Tiffanie Tate and you'll find the book and be able to get it. Thanks so much for tuning in. It is all about balance. Peace in, peace out. World peace through inner peace. Tomorrow is Thursday, so it's time for Straight Talk with Dr. Marissa and James Hawthorne. And so, in the meantime, go and have the best day ever. We'll see you tomorrow.